So what am I going to do here? I'm going to work with AI and build some AI tools and build some things on top of WordPress using the OpenAI GPT library and kind of show folks how you can, from a basic level, integrate your WordPress site with these new AI-based APIs. So to that end, AI everything, what we're going to do is we're going to create a WordPress plugin from scratch. And then in that plugin, we're going to place a shortcode that's going to allow us to run our PHP code and JavaScript code if we need it on any page where that shortcode is embedded. So that's a really quick way if you're like, I want to do anything on a WordPress page, on a WordPress site, create a page, put a shortcode in it. Your shortcode can load any code that it wants to. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to update that plugin to have to integrate with the GPT API by OpenAI. So we'll create an API key for OpenAI. We'll maybe check out their docs and we'll, use that AI to create some kind of GPT, project. So we'll be basically, if you've used ChatGPT, you can quote unquote prompt the AI, the large language model, and then it replies back to you. So we're going to create a prompt and get a reply, embed that on a WordPress site. Now to make it next level, what we're going to do is build an interactive form. So say we want to take some input from the user in a structured way, and then intermingle that with our prompt, send it to GPT, and then get the response and serve it to the end user on the website. And then this whole time, I'm going to be using VS Code with GitHub CoPilot enabled. And so if you haven't seen what it's like developing with CoPilot on, you'll get to see that. And I don't know if I'll be too distracted by it or people watching will be distracted by it. It is kind of distracting the first few times you use CoPilot, but after a while you get a feel for how it's suggesting code. And you'll probably see me tabbing complete, what the CoPilot writes and fixing what it writes and stuff like that. So we're going to be using AI to build tools to integrate with AI, and we're going to put it all onto a WordPress site. And so some things I won't be showing you is how to install WordPress, how to get it served. This is a local machine. This is basically the 6.2 version of WordPress that is, the latest version. And I'm running the 2023 theme. And I'm not going to mess with the theme at all. And it has basically nothing installed. I did give it pretty permalinks. That's kind of like the one setting that I changed right away. So otherwise, that's what we got. This is the dashboard. And then a little bit of an overview until I get to it. Like the app I'm going to make eventually is I'm going to take this blog post from Paid Memberships Pro that's all about how to name your membership level. And it's a pretty popular post of ours, and it's pretty comprehensive. It gives you all kinds of ideas. So like if you have a membership website and you're like, what do I call my peeps? Do I call them peeps? Or like, do I call them my team? Do I call them my group? Is it the gold plan? Like there's bronze, silver, and gold, or should it be like premium plus, stuff like that? So we have some advice here on how to go about doing that, how to brainstorm ideas for your membership level naming. And so I thought what would be cool is that interactive form that we can create will take some information about your membership site and the things that you do and stuff that you like, things that you call your people, send it in the ChatGPT, get the AI's response, and spit it out on a form. So that's what we'll get to eventually. And if folks are in, I believe comments on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube should come in, and I should see them. So feel free to post a comment, and I'll try to address it. So first things first, I'm going to create a plugin for WordPress from scratch. I'm using VS Code. This is my editor. Hopefully everyone can see that. And this is the WordPress files. This notes.txt is an extra file that I added so I can put some notes in there and keep track. I'm going to go into the plugins folder and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to give it a name. Let's call it like level names GPT, maybe. Yeah, how to name your level. Name your level. I'm not good at naming things. What's funny is like using GPT to figure out how to name things is actually like pretty good. And hell, why not? If ChatGPT is up, let's use it right now. See if it's up. I know I'm nervous that level names -GPT is a good name or not for my But since this is the AI, you'll get to see some of my previous messages. All right, I'm building a WordPress plugin to help folks name their membership levels. They will, explain some things about their membership site and include some other info. And then GPT, that's you, is going to recommend, how to name their levels. Right now, I need a name for that plugin. Can you give me a few suggestions for the plugin name that work well as a name and also as a WordPress plugin slug? For example, the level name plugin will have a slug level name, GPT maybe. All right, let's see what he says. I've done this before. It can, some of these sound a little bit similar to existing products that are out there. I think it's getting confused by my membership level talk. Level Lancer, Level Loom, Name Wizard, Name Wizard. That's not bad. Name Wizard. I'm getting sidetracked here, but this is a good demonstration of what AI can do. And if you use the ChatGPT interface, we're basically going to build something like this onto the website. Name Wizard is good. Let's go with Name Wizard. I don't know. That sounds weird. So let's rename our folder. We're going to call it Name Wizard. And I'm going to put GPT just because it's like to be clear. All right. So then we're going to add a new file to this. Typically, you want your PHP file in the folder to have the same slug, like the folder and the name have the slug. It's not necessary, but when that is the case, you get a. Hold on, do I have? Oh no. Huh. I'm looking. Oh, here we go. Kismet. When that's the case, you do get. There's some nice things. If you end up putting this in .org repository or other tools, they kind of expect the name and of the PHP file in the folder to be the same. Now, this is what I usually do is because I kind of forget the header structure. I find another plugin and I, copy and paste and start. So I'm going to do that here as well. But actually, CoPilot probably would have helped me if I started typing, plugin name. So actually, that's something I can show you. Probably is going to help me. So if I go plugin name, see this gray text? That's CoPilot suggesting Name Wizard GPT. It just knows that's the name of the file and the name of the folder. So I'm like, yeah, that's the name. And then the gray text here, it's recommending a plugin URI. Now it's going to recommend something. Who knows? Possibly. It doesn't know. I'll put this. This just has to be unique. Usually, I would put the URL of wherever I'm going to promote or sell this. So maybe I'll go strangerstudios.com/namewizard. This has to kind of be unique. Let's see. It gives me a description. I'm just going to tab. It's a plugin that allows you to add a name generator to your website. All right, let's tweak this a little bit, like a membership level name generator. Sure. Let's go with version 1.0. I actually like to go. 0.1 for my original version there, like anything that's pre-released. Here it's recommend I use at least WordPress 5.0, but let's just I don't know. That's probably not really true. I think I'm running PHP 7.4 8. Sure. It's funny. This is filling it out. Let's make it GPL 2 or 3. Text domain that's used for localization. And okay, so CoPilot helped me write this header. I could have copy and pasted it from a Kismet or another plugin and then swap things in. That's kind of the old school way of doing it. But I just wanted to show how CoPilot helps write things. This isn't actually accurate. It requires at least WordPress version 6.0, but that doesn't matter. We'll just put it there. Actually, this is one awkward. What CoPilot is doing is this is maybe a good suggestion. So if people navigate directly to my PHP file, a lot of plugins. I thought what it was going to recommend is the silence is golden type thing. But it actually got confused and is recommending something else here. But this is to show sometimes CoPilot will suggest things that throw you off track. So you really got to learn how to either when to pay attention to the gray text that's being suggested and when to ignore it. And I think right now is a good time to ignore it. I thought it was going to ask. I don't know if Akismet has this. Oh, it's funny because I have Akismet open. Oh, actually, oh, this is cute. So this actually, so what's suggesting the same thing Kismet does? I didn't realize they do this. There's this thing that a lot of plugins do. They call silence is golden, and they're actually looking for, I forget what it is, like a WordPress constant or something like this. So it's interesting. It's looking for add action. I don't know why Kismet does that. But yeah, okay. All right, never mind. See, CoPilot knows better than me. I don't know if this is how a Kismet likes to stop people from accessing things directly. That's a decent way. Now, all right, CoPilot's is suggesting I need a version constant, which is actually a lot of my plugins do, but I'm getting sidetracked. What I really want to do is create a shortcode. So I'm going to start a comment here, and we're going to say like add or shortcode to embed the form. And then let's see what CoPilot recommends here. It's going to say, oh, name wizard GPT shortcode, and then it's going to recommend a function called name wizard GPT shortcode. And that's pretty good. Let's do that. So function name wizard GPT shortcode. See if CoPilot knows what to do here. Yeah, so I mean, I waited a little bit, and CoPilot, this is kind of a boilerplate for a shortcode. You could find this on WordPress.org codex, where the parameters that the shortcode is going to pass in attributes and how to get parameters out of the attributes. So I'm going to tab to get this. We'll probably edit this quite a bit, but that kind of just gets me started here. So I'm going a little bit quickly, but basically what I did was I defined a new shortcode using that WordPress add shortcode function called name wizard GPT, and then you define the quote unquote callback. That's the code that calls and renders the shortcode. And there's a thing we're doing here where we're like, there's a prefix name wizard underscore. You want a unique prefix for all your functions and class names and things like that in WordPress to make sure that there's no conflicts. And we can always change this later, but I'm going to go with name underscore wizard for now. So you'll notice if I create parameters or function names, I'm just going to go name underscore wizard underscore whatever I want to name, and we'll stick to that convention. I actually don't think I'll have attributes for a shortcode. So if you think in WordPress, you can put a shortcode into a page. Sometimes you can put like parameters inside of it. For now, I don't think I need parameters. Maybe we'll come up with one later. I think I just want to like dump my code. It's like a form, and it's not going to have parameters. So I'm just going to remove that bit. The function still has to take attributes though, because that's just what it's expecting to pass. So actually, let's see what this is. It's expecting a level attribute, and then it's doing something, and then it's getting the form and returning the form. We're going to ignore that for now, but we're going to put some other stuff. The shortcode, I usually call it content, and then whatever you return from the shortcode gets like displayed on the front end. So actually, I'm gonna just start here with like some testing stuff. Sure. And then just make sure the plugin's working, embed it on a page on my site, and just kind of make sure everything's working. So I'm going to tab back to my dashboard, click on plugins, and I should see my new plugin. It's in the plugins folder on WordPress. It has a proper header and a PHP file, and so it's going to show up in this list. And fingers crossed, when I click activate, if there's no errors, it's going to activate. So the plugin's activated. And what I can do is go to a page. I can add a new page. So I'll close the wizard for the block, and we're going to call this like name your membership level, something like that. Something like naming your membership level. Okay, and then I'm going to insert the shortcode. So I'll go shortcode, and then it was called name wizard GPT, I believe. And if I put that in here, I can just put it in square brackets like that and publish. And when I view the page, it outputs my testing. That's the code that's coming up here. So we've kind of gotten through step one, I think, a little bit. Like, we've created a WordPress plugin from scratch. In step two, we've created like a shortcode that runs anywhere we want on any page. Um, there's some other stuff that we could do. A lot of times when folks are doing that, you'll also want to run like JavaScript code. So if we get, I don't know if we'll need any JavaScript for this, but if we do, well, I can show how to embed a script. There's docs again on WordPress.org codex to show you how to do that. But if you ever were like, I just want to run arbitrary PHP on my WordPress site, this is exactly how you do it. You kind of have PHP running on your WordPress site now. No questions coming in, but definitely feel free to send those in. So what I'm going to do next is let me check my notes here. We want to integrate with the GPT API to do some cool stuff. I'm actually going to do like a little trick too. This thing that uses the, and you know, maybe like, we'll see if CoPilot can know. I want to like, I'm going to like capture like the capture output here to place into a variable. Let's see if it does. Cool. Obstart is a PHP function that says like, hey, anything that gets quote unquote echoed is not going to go to the screen, to the server. It's going to get captured. I forget what obstart is, like, what is it, like object stream or something like that? I totally killed that. Look up the PHP obstream. I feel like obstart. I'm going to use the right terms here. It's funny, we use this stuff. Create an output buffer, OB, output buffer. So instead of sending the output directly, it's going to like buffer it, and then you can put it into a variable. So instead of this kind of like building a variable like this, and this is all optional, but I kind of like to build my shortcodes like this way. So instead I can say like, hey, div, let me see what it suggests here. Sure. And then we can like still go like p testing, just so we know it changed. And then here we'll say like, capture the output and return it. And let's see what, there you go. So you say get contents, oops. Sometimes you're like, oh no, I lost CoPilot. It gave me a good suggestion, but I lost it. I find like hitting enter or space and then waiting, it'll usually try it again. And I'm hitting tab and I'm going to complete what CoPilot suggested. And then and clean. I don't know if this is really needed. Let me see how we do this. See, this is a case where like, ooh, my spider sense is tingling, that maybe I don't always do it this way, but I can like search. Do this in PM Pro in a few places. Yeah, I guess we do. All right, I've been clean there. No, we want like, there we go. In the widget, there's like this augment flush. Oh, maybe that's what I use, like the augment flush. And you know what? It's funny, like I'm usually copy and pasting this obstart, augment flush stuff from different places I've used it. And my brain is not remembering like the exact syntax, and I think this is okay. So this is what I usually do: get contents and then clean. That's really quick. This is like a good example of like, I told my team this. I said, hey, don't publish any code from GPT or CoPilot that you don't understand. So let me make sure I understand this. There's a few different ways to do this kind of obstart trick to get output into a string. And I'm pretty confident that like in this other case, this is what we did. That same thing where like get contents and then the clean. But for completeness, like just a little bit of a sidetrack to what we're doing, but we want to figure out what's happening. So obstart means how I'm starting the output buffer, and then we're going to get contents, which is like the contents of the output buffer. That makes sense. But I guess the buffer is still on, so you want to call ob and clean that erases the output buffer and turns it off. So if later on some other aspect of WordPress wants to echo, it really expects it to go right to the screen. If I still had my output buffer on, it would capture that and it would kind of get lost. So I don't want to do that. I think the thing that was holding me up was that I'm often using ob and flush instead, which is probably like a combination It's like send the output buffer and turn off the output buffering. Okay, cool. So if you want to buffer the output for some reason and maybe tweak it and then send it, you can use that ob and flush. But actually, here Copilot's got our back. I wrote a decent comment explaining what I wanted to do, and it was like get the content, and then we're ending the output buffer and returning it. So let me see here. It's like capture the output, and like I'll say like close the output buffer or something like that. Okay. All right. Sorry, that was a sidetrack of how we can use this obstart, obend clean to kind of, what I want to do is I want to put HTML in here without having to like create a variable and maintain it. And it gets a little messy kind of, capturing, stuff like that. I am going to make, I think, a form. And so I want to be able to build that HTML directly into this page. But what we want to do first now is we want to connect it. Look at my notes. We want to connect it to the GPT API. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to platform.openai.com. So if you go to openai.com, you sign up as an organization or as a user for access to the quote unquote platform. And then like what you want to log into is platform.openai. It has this really cool playground where you can choose the different models, a GPT, and I think maybe even like some other, or there's like a mode of interacting. And you can kind of like it actually here's a trick. If ChatGPT is down, you can log into OpenAI platforms, go to the playground and still interact with like a GPT and even a chat based GPT, like through the playground. Sometimes the playground is live while the ChatGPT is down. But we also want to interact with the API. So I wonder, like, now there's the thing. Normally I would like go to the API reference and look around. And I would be like, hey, I'm trying to do this in PHP. Is there like a PHP SDK? Or in reality, you don't need a PHP SDK to interact with APIs. If you just know like the nature of the API, you can interact with it through like the WP remote get and WP remote post commands, which kind of like we'll do a, like a HTTP request behind the scenes from your server to the API. And then you gather the data. It's just JSON that's being returned, I believe, and you can do whatever you want with it. You don't really need an API. And so these examples are showing like the, C URL or curl interacting with it. So we can use that. So anyway, I would normally do this. It might, or try to find an example I can copy and paste. I've actually already done this, so I could find an example I did, but I also want to see like how good CoPilot does and see if we get stuck. So let's see how smart CoPilot is with respect to this. So I'm going to go down. So I have this function. That's my shortcode. And what I want to do is I want to build a function here that like, and again, like here, Copilot's like, I don't know if it checks my mic. I don't think it, maybe it does. I talked about enqueuing styles and scripts, but we don't need to do that yet. You kind of got to ignore GPT or Copilot when you're really trying to think. Anyway, so what I really want to do is I want a function that like, I want to call like GPT and get like, I'm going to give it a prompt and get a response. So I want to like ask GPT. So I'm going to say, ask or send a prompt to the GPT API and get a response. And I'll start naming this name wizard ask GPT. We'll call it that. And we'll say this is the prompt that you pass in. And it gives you a response. So I'm gonna pause and maybe hopefully Copilot kind of gets excited about this and helps me a little bit. Send a prompt to the GPT API and get a response. I could do this a while, like create a real doc plot. Actually, Copilot's great for doc block stuff. If you kind of don't keep that stuff in memory, it knows, it can see your parameters and kind of, be a suggestion here. And then it's like, it's going to return response from the API. Okay, cool. So I thought maybe it would know it's kind of not so, but what we want to do is kind of, all right, here we go. We'll say, we want to, or is like build the header arguments. header. This is funny. It's just like trying to get CoPilot. Or maybe if I, all right. Oh yeah. So the body, we're going to put the prompt in the body. Oh, I'm really sad. It's like not, all right. We need to give it a little more help. Okay. I thought it would get this. Let me see. I could cheat and go to the code I already have, but let's try to find this out. Let's also just kind of Google this. So we'll say like, or actually no, here, let me read the docs. Wait, now another thing we have to do is get an API key and pass that API key in our headers. So we want like, yeah, list your models, retrieve a model. There's, now remember that the completions is the API endpoint. So maybe if we kind of do this, so we'll say like endpoint equals completions. Then we'll say like API key equals, we'll make a constant for this, name wizard, OpenAI API key. That's a constant that doesn't exist yet. We'll have to do that. It's good to not hard code that into the code in case we kind of put this somewhere. And we can put like a comment here saying like define config.php. Okay. Oops. All right. So now we want to like, let's do this. Let's like, we want to build the header, and then we want to query this. The model that we want to use, the prompt, suffix, max tokens, temperature. These are all important aspects of the GPT API that tweak the settings, and we'll pretty much want to use defaults to start, and then maybe tweak them as we go. Cool. Let me see. They have like, let me see examples here. No, that's like, I'm trying not to cheat. I feel like first time I wrote this, CoPilot helped me. I don't want to look at the stuff I already have. So we'll say, let's, yeah, make the request. Let's see if it helps. Is it, all right, cool. Curl in it. All right, we're getting somewhere. Yeah, sweet. Okay, cool. So CoPilot, we gave it a little bit more, and now it's kind of getting there. Again, like this is doing a lot, and normally I think what you're going to do afterwards is kind of take my example code that I've written and cross-referenced and checked and compared, or you found some similar library, and this is the stuff you would copy and paste. You don't necessarily have to understand exactly how like curl works and things like this. But and I actually some of this maybe we want to change to like to use the, let's maybe put us down to track of calling curl directly, which isn't a bad thing in WordPress, but WordPress also has this thing called the HTTP API. Is that what it's called? Let me see here. And we kind of want to do it that way. So like, it's funny, like WordPress has wrappers for all this stuff, and we want to make sure we use those. So I'm gonna, yeah. Let's get like a good example from this. Cool. There's good documentation. There's also good documentation about this in the book Building Web Apps with WordPress by O'Reilly, written by Brian Messenlaner and Jason Coleman, that goes into the details. I was kind of looking for a good example. It's funny this page doesn't just have like the, here we go. Okay, this is a decent one. Cool. Oh, that's using get. So, but we'll just kind of change that. So what I want to do is use the WordPress API. So, and then I'm pretty sure that API uses post. So let's call this URL. That's what's expecting, I guess. That's okay. That's an okay name for that. These are the arguments. So actually this WP remote post is a wrapper for curl or some other, I mean, every once in a while, hardly ever probably now, but it uses some other kind of method like WebSockets or something to communicate between servers and APIs. But yeah, so it's a wrapper for that curl stuff, and you pass arguments into it and the URL that you're going to, and then you kind of get the response back. So actually, we would be like response equals WP remote post. That's interesting. Like this example, I feel like the codex used to have better like this example is kind of wrong. So we could, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I guess you could do that, but you have to get the stuff out of it. Okay. All right. So this authorization is different. If you look at, here we go. They're just like bearer and then the key. This is also like a little bit in the weeds. There's different kinds of authorization, like when you're doing requests like this, and CoPilot's kind of understanding that this is the way to do it, is to use it's this bearer authorization using our API key that we defined. And I think we have an extra, we had an extra little closing parentheses there. I don't know if we want to change anything else. We want to set the body in the args, right? So let me look at the HTTP. So here's some setting, some args for when you're doing a post, like the body, the timeout. I mean, a lot of these have pretty good defaults that you might want to use. Like the timeout, you might want to change. The GPT API is decently fast, but it takes like a few seconds, not like a few milliseconds. And so, I mean, I could see myself increasing the timeout, but let's just kind of, we want to authorize, and actually, hold on, what's, I don't know if we need that. Let me see what the API here. Remember this API docs was giving us some like, oh, you could put your organization key in here. I hope that's not my key that it's putting in. I don't know if that's necessary. I always just use the API key. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we can just pass a body. So we'll just say the body is equal to a variable. We're going to set this. So we need to like build the prompt, or, oh no, the body is the prompt. We, all right, I'm jumping around here. So the completions, you post to it. Oh, the request body, here's an example request. It wants the model, the prompt, the max tokens, and the temperature. So we want to set, we need to set arguments up like this. Our body is going to be another set. So here we go. Let's create, build the request body, and we'll say body equals an array of values, and we need like to tell it what model to use. So open CoPilot suggesting DaVinci. Let's go with that for now. We can talk about the different models once we get something working, but there's different models of OpenAI has for GPT, and there are different levels of, actually, I don't want to use the DaVinci model. I think the default should probably be like the GPT-3 Turbo. Actually, we'll change that in a second, but we'll talk about the different, yeah, the prompt we got as a variable, max tokens. Okay, I don't know. Temperature 9, top P. What is that one? So by the way, the tokens is like how many tokens it should allow it to use. I believe, actually, let's look at this. I don't want to say something that was kind of true. So when we're doing completions, the max tokens, number of tokens to generate in the completion. Okay, so how a token is kind of like a word. It's usually like a word partial, and it's how like these large language models understand the world and do things. They kind of break up the words into tokens, and then they do their math through the neural net on it, and they output tokens one at a time, and that like slowly builds words, and that slowly builds sentences, which slowly builds responses. So like 100 tokens means the response I'm going to get is about 100 words long, I believe. So number of tokens to generate into completion can't exceed the model's length. It's weird it defaults to 16. Most models have a context left of 2048 tokens, except for the newest models, which support 4,000. Let's go with 100 and see how it works. You also like pay per token in your API. So adjusting this later is going to adjust like how much money it's costing you to use these APIs. And then temperature is something that the large language models use to figure out kind of like how creative to get. So the neural net takes your input and gives you an output, but it puts a little bit of randomness in there so that you're not always getting exactly the same output. And the temperature is basically like how much randomness to put in. And so a higher value, more random, a lower value, less. I think for the, and you'll tweak this as you get a feel for things, but for this application where I want it to be like highly creative and giving people examples of how to name their membership levels, I think a temperature like 0.9 is probably appropriate. And then top P, which I actually don't even know what this is, nucleus sample. So this is optional. The model considers the results of the tokens with top P probability mass. So 0.1 means only the tokens comprising the top 10% probability mass are considered. So this is maybe like, I'm going to get rid of this, I think. And a top P of 1. Oh, it defaults to 1 anyway. It seems to be another parameter to kind of like, in addition to the temperature, or maybe as an alternative to the temperature, like figures out how crazy the GPT is going to be in giving me a response. Okay, so my model has the prompt and the model. I'll slow down to talk about the models here. So a good way to understand this is to go into the playground. And if you look in the model, there's a few here. And holy smokes, maybe I don't have access to the GPT Turbo one on here. So generally, I mean, if you're following the stuff in the news, there's like GPT-1 and GPT-2 and different versions of it. They have to train these models, and they optimize them for different things. And some of them like cost more. And these have pretty good help prompts. So you're like, hey, DaVinci 3 is like the most capable of the GPT-3 models. It has a certain limit, and this is what it's strong for. But depending on what you're doing, like it probably costs more. I think actually that circle corresponds to how much it costs. That's cute. So you're like, hey, maybe I don't, for what I'm doing, or if you build complex applications, what you really want to do is like, there's going to be many of these prompts going back and forth and interacting with each other. So some things maybe use like a model that's cheaper and not as intelligent. And for, the main output, you're going to use the most intelligent. What's weird is, and actually, hold on, let me see if I just get it through the API. So there's like the OpenAI Turbo GPT 3.5. And okay, so this is a doc. I have the docs open in another tab, but this is kind of telling me the models. And I'm going to try to use this model because this one came out, and what it is it's an improvement on GPT, but it's not as smart as GPT-4, which is like the kind of latest smartest. But that turbo aspect was like, when this came out of the news, it was like 10% of the cost and 10% of I think it uses 10% of the memory and, GPU execution on their servers. And so it's basically like a really strong model, and even cheaper, I think, than that DaVinci 3 model like to use. And so we kind of want to use that one. And so maybe let's click that. I was using, when I did this demo before, I was using that one. So I kind of want to use it again. And so maybe, oh, I'm getting an error here. Oh, let's see, was it upset? Unexpected. Oh, I don't have a semicolon here. So this is VS Code is kind of detecting that my syntax and my PHP is bad, and it notices showing that my file names are turning red, the tab is turning red, and it's got this like red squiggly line. And if you hover over here, this is basically the PHP error that I'm going to see on my website if I tried to load it now. And it's because I was missing a semicolon here. I'm going to try to do the GPT 3.5 Turbo. I might get an error in my response, and we'll have to change it if like, but when I was working earlier, that's the one I was using. And I'm pretty sure that's the one that's cheapest to use and kind of generally good. And so I want to use that one to, I don't want to mess around with the model. And let me see here. So headers, oh, this is squiggling here because it's expecting a comma here. So my code editor is helping me fix some things here. And this also needs a comma. No, what's going on here? So I have an array. Oh, actually, no, this is wrong. I think just because this is a combination of that curl code and the code that's good for. We'll double check the WordPress docs. This is like my favorite part of all these demos is like I have like weird errors in my code and I have to figure them out. Let me double check the HTTP docs. It wants the args that get passed in to the calls. Yeah. Oh, okay. Actually, hold on. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. So headers is an array. I'm going to put these two guys, our headers, in there. And then there's another arg called body. As if you, it's going to be, I think by default, I'm pretty sure like this array is going to be converted to JSON and then kind of placed into the body of the request using JSON. And then it's going to get passed by post to the URL. And then I'm going to get the response. And then let me just, I guess it's kind of like, sure, check for errors. All right. Yeah, this WP remote post is going to, what do we want it to do if there's an error? I guess we want like, it's an error. We want like, to say like, error. Get the error message, and then we want to return like error. All right. And then here, it's funny, like decode response. This is what I was looking for. Like the response is going to be this like array, this JSON array that has like the, and we once we get this running, like we can, if I was building this on my own, I would have like probably tested and ran this a few times to kind of see where it's at. But once we get it kind of end-to-end working, like we can see like what the response is. It's like an array with like the response code and some other stuff. But the main thing that we want to get out of there is the body. So, and then let's return that. So, I think, so actually let's look here. So the response body is what the request is going to get. And then let's see what, GPT here says is the response for completion. So this is an example request, the parameters that you pass. And then the response looks like this. So actually the response body is going to be this bit of JSON. And I think we need to break it down. What we only want is like the, the choices. Yeah, we had this. So I think it sometimes like you can like, is that what this N is? Let me see. How many completions to join for each prompt? So actually it's funny. I don't know, like you could imagine an app, you ask ChatGPT something and then or GPT API, and then it gives you like 5 response like options, and then you can like sort through them or look for like which one comes up the most often. I think the default for N is 1, so there only is one. So basically we want to get the choices out of that response and then the text, and that's what we want to return, right? So we want to like, so maybe if I let's see, start coding here. So the, that we could say the response. Let's not misuse, but reuse variables there. So the response body, and then we want to get like the like choice text. And what's funny is like yeah, this might work. So CoPilot's really smart. You're kind of like, this is a pretty new API and code base doesn't know what to do. This is a reasonable option, but again, like my rule, like everything it suggests, I'm going to confirm here. So I'm pretty sure this corresponds to what I just looked at in that API doc. So the response body is going to be, it's JSON decoded. So it was JSON, but now it's going to be an array. And so, and actually, or JSON decode, not necessarily to an array, it could decode to an object or an array, which is like a source of struggle sometimes when you're dealing with APIs or something's building quote unquote objects or arrays. But let me see here. So this looks like if you see in these JSON responses, the curly braces are objects and the square braces are arrays, right? So I think I got it right. So the response is an object. It has a property called choices. That's an array, and I want to get the first one. So response body is an object. It has a property called choices. I want to get the first one in index 0, and the thing is called text, and it's going to get me the text. And so then I'm going to return from this to choice text. Okay, cool. So all we did was build this function. Hey, if I call name wizard ask GPT and I send it a prompt, it's going to give me a response. So let's get like a pretty decent prompt to test. So in here, I'm gonna, and actually maybe here I'll go like, generate, oh, funny, like, or like some name suggestions, right? All right. Okay. And I'll maybe make the prompt like a little dumb eventually when what we want to do. I mean, this is going long, but I'm okay with it. Like we want to add a form here to gather some information. So the prompt isn't just like, hey, give me random names for my membership. But I think I'm going to make the prompt that silly for now. So I'm going to say like, give me some good names for my membership site levels. Let me think. Like they should be like catch. Oh, what the hell? Okay, here, CoPilot. This is the thing too. Sometimes you're writing text. I was writing like an email to someone in VS Code, and it started like filling in like it was really nice meeting you the other day, and I was like, holy crap. Um, but um, so this is interesting. Like Copilot suggesting a prompt to me, and I'm tempted to just take it. I was going to write something similar. I was going to be like, they should be catchy, but um like not too clever. I don't know. So they should be short and sweet. Here's some examples: free, basic, pro, premium, ultimate. I'm gonna see what you can come with. I'll start with some examples, but I don't know if I would prompt it that way. Actually, like prompting is an art. And kind of like one of the levels of improvement for this app will be to figure out like the exact prompt and kind of do some research on what makes a good prompt. Like sometimes the difference between like putting a colon or saying I'll start or like you'll start. One thing I found, and actually maybe I'll do it here, is if you give the GPT like a persona, it kind of it like takes it on. So I was be like, you are a marketing genius. Or it's like you are, like name GPT, the marketing genius, right? And like, okay, so like just kind of like giving it a persona, it's kind of like, oh, I'm a marketing genius. It's going to flavor the text. Give me some good examples for my membership site levels. They should be short and sweet. Here are some examples, blah, blah, blah. I don't think this makes sense. I mean, it's interesting to Copilot. It's go. Um, all right, let me see. I'll put the go there. That's cute. I don't know. It's funny, like, who knows like where Copilot's getting these suggestions? Like it's trained on code from the past, but I think it has access to like the code in like your editor. And I don't actually, it's probably like I should know this for like privacy reasons, like what other code on my machine and like my GitHub repository and GitHub account and all that stuff that it's looking for. But it uses all that in context. So anyway, I have this prompt, and then I'm going to say like the output equals like name wizard ask GPT my prompt, and then I'm going to echo the prompt, echo the output here. And actually, what I'm going to do too is I'm going to echo. We're going to build in the security from the start. We don't want to trust whatever ChatGPT gives us. What if it gives us some JavaScript code and we echo it? It will run on our website. So we want to use escape HTML, which is going to escape everything. But I don't know if you noticed in the example here, it has like this /n for a new line. That's not going to show up great. So we will, well, there's a code in WordPress called like new line to break is a good one, or like WP auto P. So like WP auto P, is that, hold on. Forget like where the, okay, yeah, there's no underscores. WP auto P is going to take new lines and turn them into breaks, but it'll make kind of like paragraphs. So I'm going to escape any HTML that ChatGPT puts into us, and HTML includes scripting, what gets scripted out by this escape. And then I'm going to, but I do want those new lines to turn into breaks or paragraphs, so I'm going to do that. So escape WP auto P, escape HTML output. That feels like it's pretty good. So actually, what's weird is every time I load this, it's going to just output the answer to this prompt. So let me go, and it's probably going to output a PHP error. We're finally back, and we're going to try this. Fingers crossed. As we said, we got some PHP errors here. I was like, man, if this works on the first try, that would be amazing. Let me see. I see there's some people watching. Okay, let's see. I have in my W. Oh, you know what? We don't have an API key, and actually, that's what's warning us about. I never got an API key. So I'll show you a couple things in my WP config file. And this is like my local machine, like hopefully you can't hack me. But I define this WP debug to be true. And when you have that enabled, it's going to dump these PHP errors directly to the screen, which is bad on a production site, but it's good when you're developing because you get them right there and you don't have to hunt these down in an error log. So I have that and it's complaining, and I never got the API key from OpenAPI. So let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to go to view API keys under my account. And I think you can create these even if you don't have like a credit card added, but you only have like $20 of credits, which you might use up quickly. So we're going to create a secret key. So now actually everyone who's watching live for the next few minutes until I delete this key, like, please don't hack me. I'll try to like not have this on the screen for a while, but I do need to define that here. So I'm going to define the name wizard OpenAI key, I think I called it. Oh, and here's where like CoPilot's kind of confusing me. I'm just got to double check that that's what it's called. Name wizard OpenAPI API key. I didn't call it that. Yeah, open. So this is a constant. And again, like I said, this is a good way to do this where your API key is in your config file. So when you move this plugin around from site to site, like your API key is in, especially one is like kind of costly to use as OpenAPI, OpenAI, or any API key is going to get used up. So that was the problem. So now it should work. I'm just going to double check if I had any other warnings. There was actually one that mattered here. So this is probably because it's just not handling errors correctly, but this is kind of cool. So there's no choices in this. But I think my error was not working here because this should have errored out. Or you know what I might do here? Hold on. I feel like this. Here's another kind of development thing. I want to like, I kind of had an accidental issue here, but I could go on and fix the API key issue. And when I come back, I keep looking at my other laptop instead of the camera. I could go on and like fix everything and get this working in the case where it works. But like in the future, if I don't have the API key, I don't want it to handle it this way. I want it to kind of like be I want it to die a little nicer. So I'm going to take a little bit of a detour to like harden my code and make it like fail more nicely when there's no API key. And these errors are giving me a couple ideas around that. So one, like I should check if the key's there or not. So, right. So we can go up here and we can say like, it's like, make sure the API key is set, and CoPilot might understand what I mean. Yeah. So if the name wizard open API key is not defined, return an error, right? And actually, let me comment this out so we can kind of test this. So now when I refresh, it's like, oh, it's a little nicer. It's like, doesn't even try to make the connection. It's like, oh, hey, dude, you messed that up. So that's pretty nice. I did lose my, hold on. I did lose my other errors that I want to read. Because these things also, like, say my API key is correct, but for some other reason the Open API response fails, my error code here is not actually kind of handling it correctly. So it's not a WordPress error. I think the API call is working. So it's not a WP error, but it's potentially like it doesn't have the response that we want. So I'm actually just going to var dump the response here. And var dump is a PHP command that kind of like dumps a variable out. Oh wait, oops, I already did this. I want to remove this for now because I want it to keep failing. Okay, so var dump like dumps the response. And so we can kind of, I'm sure like the API, oh, and here's some other like development tips. I mean, this is a pretty new API. I'm sure OpenAPI is a great company and their API references are awesome, but like you don't trust the API reference. Like if you're doing development, like the API references, it doesn't matter who the company is. I don't want to name names. Like our APIs, don't trust the reference for my plugins. It's probably been updated and we forgot to update the documentation in a couple places. So what you really want to do is kind of like ping the API, get the response and see what's really in there. And I think it doesn't even really have an example of like a bad response anyway. But let me look at what I'm getting here. So this is a lot of gibberish, but this is basically like an array for that response. And here's the headers and what it's saying. Look how it's going through here. Incorrect API key provided is the message. So it has this thing called error. So we can check for like an error from the API. And let's see if CoPilot knows. So it's not a WordPress error. So I might say like else if Response code is not 200. Okay, hold on. Actually, yeah, this is giving me a not 200 response code. So right, the response code here, I mean, this is hard. There's a lot of gibberish. I know what to look for. It's like a 401 error, which is kind of standard, but OpenAPI's way of saying like, hey, dude, like your key is wrong. So I'm not going to do what you wanted me to do. I'm going to throw an error. So actually, CoPilot, it was doing a good job here. Sorry. Oh, sorry. OSIF. If it's not a 200 response, this is like HTTP 200 response is what. And again, like actually read the docs and see what really happens here, because I know there's some APIs that like, oh, like a 204 is also a success response, or like a 300 is a success, but it's a little different than you thought it would be. Not every API like follows the right conventions or the same convention. So, but this feels like it's going to catch some other error cases where like, okay, it's 9200 response message. I don't think that's correct. Response code. So actually, response code message unauthorized. But actually, this error is really good. Oh, the body error is more informative. So I'm actually gonna. So let's see what happens here. I'll show you. And I put this horizontal roller so it's kind of more easy to see what's going on. Okay, cool. So it's called error unauthorized, but I'll try to remember. Oh, and I'm saying return, so it's actually returning early, so that's why it doesn't even get to this code, which is probably good. I actually know that there's a thing called body error, and it's a better error message, or it seemed that way anyway. Not true. Where is it? Var dump response. And actually, oh, here's like another trick with this var dump. You can like echo pre, which is a HTML tag, like output code, and then you can print R, the response. I think this is right, and it's like a little prettier. And so headers, body. Oh, body is an object, not an array, right? And then it's called error, so it's going to be echo body arrow error. Oh, and then error message. Oh, I print my response and then hold on. Right, of non-object. I'm reading this wrong. Hold on. This is my response. Oh, it's not body, it's response. Oh, I'm sorry, this is confusing. Okay, response is an array. Body is one of the values. Body itself is an object with a property called error, and then has a property called message. I think I'm reading this right. There's a cool debugging tool called Crumo that it does like kind of like a even nicer way of outputting stuff. Shoot. I'm getting sidetracked on this. We want to get this. Hold on. Why is this wrong? Hold on. Array. Okay. Body is an object. Error. Oh, wait. No. Actually, what is this format? Oh, because this is this is JSON, I guess. I have to kind of like JSON decode it. JSON decode error and then get the message out of it. Gotcha. Or actually like the body is a JSON encoded. Right. Right. So this is, you see this like, I don't know, I'm like reading this. All right, what are we doing here? So response body, actually, let's do like the error equals the, or if you, And actually, like, I don't really, this is like, there, I think. Um, Oh, I spelled response weird. Response. All right, I'm getting more. Hold on, let's watch me do this in real time. Object cannot be converted to string, so I'm using. Oh, this body isn't. All right, we're gonna go down the. This is like how JSON debugs these APIs. What we want to do is like we know, so we're gonna var dump the body. See what that is, and then whatever. All right. From the body. So it's still warning me about that. No, but, okay. Oh, so it's a string error message, right? So this can get JSON decoded. So actually, like the error equals JSON decode. Body. Like CoPilot's making it hard here. So sometimes CoPilot's in the way. So response body, you see here, it's a string, but it's a string which is like this JSON. So I'm going to decode it, and then I'm going to dump the body. Ooh, up here though, actually, hold on. Dump the error. It's weird, like I bet like it's funny is you could probably use ChatGPT to figure this out. You're like, oh, and here's where it's getting mad at me. So why won't it let me JSON oh wait, JSON decode. By the way, there's a WP version, and it's good to use that. It doesn't really matter though. Oh, here I'm putting it to string. Okay, this is where it's yelling about the string conversion. Hold on. All right, okay. See where it starts object? This is my var dump. This is an object, and one of the properties is error, and one of those, and that's an object. And that has a property called message. So we want like, so it's kind of like, all right, error equals that. You say like error equals error. It's funny, like I can't, okay, it's an object, it has a thing. Oh, maybe this is what I was missing earlier. So, oh no, it has a called, all right, error is the name of there's an object. Oh, I think there's like an extra error in here, which is what was confusing me earlier, maybe. Error. Message. Let's see if this works. All right, that's it. Okay, there's an extra error in there. So I kept looking through that and I was missing. So like the body has a thing called error, the thing called error has a thing called error, and that has a thing called message. Okay, so yeah, okay, that extra error was throwing me off. Hey, I think we got it. We have like a good, a better error message here. We're still gonna get the warning about, because like this API key, like, like, hey, oh, I'm getting this notice about the undefined variable, but assume like I had an API key and it was bad. I got here, it'd be like, hey, it's going to give me an error, and I'm going to process the error correctly. So now I'm going to kind of undo a couple of these things I did to debug, and maybe I'll slow down and recap where I'm at. And I think we may even get a response. Okay, hey, define the OpenAPI key in my config. I'll turn that back on. Let's see if we got another error. We're on to the next error. At the end of this, you're just gonna be able to use my code as a starting point, and you can get through all these fun errors that I got through. And what's funny is I did this earlier, and I don't know why I'm getting more errors than I had before. Okay, we could not parse the JSON body of your request. Hint: this is like such a useful error. Actually, I wouldn't have gotten this good of an error, I think, if I didn't like build that code to get the error. Um, and their errors are so good. Look at this. It's like means you're using your HTTP library correctly. Expects a JSON payload, but what was sent was not valid JSON. Let's make sure we're using the we're passing things correctly. WP remote post. Let's look at that. Actually, and you know what? Hold on. There's still. I feel. Honestly, I feel like this developer reference is less useful than anyway. Okay, string URL args. Array of args. Args. That's the code of how it is. Why am I using this wrong? Method equals post. That's implied by the remote post. And this is the body. The body is an array. Oh, maybe. Hold on. Do I need to JSON encode this? JSON encode. I thought WordPress would do that automatically, but let's try that. No, it's going to encode it somehow, but maybe. Oh, okay. So we're getting a different error. I think that was the problem. I thought this automatically got encoded, like it's an array, but it must just be passing it as a string or something, or doing some. It's not JSON encoding it when it's an array. It's mad about the model I'm using. I want to kind of cheat and look at my other code quick to see is there a way I can do that without showing it on screen. Yeah, let me just put my face on. This is weird that like I was, maybe I'm hitting my limits or something. I've been sharing this API key with some devs to get things done. And where am I doing this? Yeah, here. Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. Hold on, I'll copy and paste this. Oh. Maybe I'll try this. It had a slightly different. Yeah. I'm going to get some code from before, so we're kind of cheating here. Okay. Let me reload my code. Demos. Okay. We'll put. All right. See how easy it is? Okay, this is okay. Let me show you the code that I had before. Okay, so actually here's the body variables. The model GPT 3.5 Turbo, but actually it didn't pass a prompt, it passed messages. So I think maybe, I'm sure if I looked at the API, it would tell me when using a certain model, you got to pass things differently. So let's try this really quick. And if for some reason I'm not able to use this GPT-5 Turbo, I'll switch back to using one of their other models. But using GPT 3.5 Turbo, messages, it wants an array of arrays here for some reason. This worked on the other. We'll see if it works. And then the role is like user and the content is prompt. So let's just see if this works. And then maybe this was working. And then, oh yeah, here's the args I had from the, yeah, here's the args that I had were a little bit different. We're going to see the JSON encode. We had headers. Oh, so I did headers first, and then this timeout and redirection 5, and the method post is redundant. I don't know what the defaults are for some of these other ones, but it doesn't hurt to put these in. So I talked before. I briefly. Let me clean up my code. I got a lot going on here. No squiggles. Okay. So what I did was apparently just GPT 3.5 model expects a different format for the prompt. So we'll see if this is working. And then, and I probably could have figured that out from reading the API documentation a little more closely and slower. And then again, here's some other arguments we talked a little bit about earlier was like the timeout, like the default timeout. I don't know what it is. It might be server based. It might be kind of quick, and like GPT could take like 5-10 seconds to figure stuff out. So give it 45 seconds is like I think 30 is like a limit on a lot of servers, but it's kind of like maybe give it a little more time. This is kind of a complicated thing. And then redirection is sometimes how many times, like if you hit an API endpoint, like if you hit HTTP, it's going to redirect you to HTTPS. And if you hit something else, it's going to redirect you somewhere. I don't know what the Open API endpoint is doing, but like whenever you use the HTTP API in WordPress to like get content or push content, post content, it's going to after a few redirects, it's going to be like, dude, there's a lot of redirects. I'm going to give up. And so I think the default might be like 2 or something like that, or that also might be server dependent. So I don't know why. Like hey, let's give it a little more redirects, which might help. All right. So I think what we really had to change was this: the body needed to be a different. And you know what? My other code had the headers like separated out, and I like that it's clean because I don't know if you remember earlier. Yeah. I kind of had a little bit of a bug when I was going through, getting confused by the array within the array in the code here. So it's kind of nice, like, hey, let's build all our arrays, and then just this args array is a little bit cleaner. Okay, let's see what we get here. Let me refresh. Oh, it doesn't like messages. This is really weird. All right, I'm not gonna let's go DaVinci. Let's call this prompt. It's weird. I wonder, like, if that other code is working. I could try to load the site that it's running on. I'm kind of hesitant to show you guys what it is because if you hit it over and over, you'll remember in my notes, like something I want to do is limit attempts per IP address. So if you put this live on a website and people are reloading it, you're going to like run out of credits. It's going to run up your credit card. OpenAI does, and I should probably double check that because people have been using it. They do have like a limit for like how many usage limits. And I don't, so I have a limit here, like 100 current usage. It hasn't really been used. Okay. So if you hit your limits, you know, like if you put this online and someone knows about it, they hit it, it's going to use up your credits and stuff. All right, let's try this. DaVinci. Let's try this. I'm going to actually on this computer, I'm going to test. It's really weird to like stuff works and then sometimes it doesn't. Oh, wait, I got a response. And let me add this other app that I built earlier, and it's kind of on a hidden place. It does work. So I'm going to figure that out. This will be the follow-up is like how to use the ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo. Because I was using on a different device, and I think it is like a little bit smarter and a little bit faster. All right. Generate some names. This is the response I'm getting. Your gut or objectivity? What do you value more? This is kind of random. If you want to just enjoy a lifetime of freedom and rewards, you need to make sure your gut and your objectivity gut comes first. Okay. Ooh. Oh, because I told him it's like a marketing guru, and so he's giving me some like bland marketing advice. Maybe if I use a different model, like DaVinci 3.0, or okay, so let me models. Does it? I mean, I could get a list of models, but can you just tell me the list? Text DaVinci 03. Let's try this one, see if it gets a little smarter. All right, let's see what we get for that. Refresh. Oh, all right. So actually DaVinci, I don't know what that is. Maybe it's like a level 1 DaVinci. It didn't exactly follow the prompt. This text DaVinci 3 is like following the prompt. It was like, hey, you're a guru, give me names. And so it's like, hey, here's some names. And notice we have, oh, this is the title page, and then we have like that H2 is redundant. I don't need that. So it's like newbie, starter, advanced, expert, ninja, guru, superstar, VIP, supreme, apex. All right, I mean, we got something there. Let's fix this up. So we don't need the H2, that's redundant with the page, but maybe we should put like a paragraph about like what we're doing. It's like, we're going to ask the great name GPT to help you come up with names for your membership site. The levels of your membership levels. I need ChatGPT to write. Okay. All right. Now what I want to do, I'm just giving the H2. I don't want this to load. I like when you go to the page, it kind of dumps something. Let's go back to our notes. We're moving along. We're getting through. Okay, so we got through 1, 2, 3. We are integrating with the GPT API. I'm a little bummed that it's not doing the Turbo 3.5 GPT, but we'll figure that out later. We ended up using this model, Text DaVinci 3, which is basically, I think, like the smartest version of GPT-3. But we have some code here, and I'm going to share this online again. That's like kind of using my API key. It's building a request. It's authenticating the request with the API key. And then it's actually, it's like what bothers me is that, like, for some reason in my mind, the headers should come before the body. I don't know. But there's the arguments, and then it makes the request. It checks for errors, both for WordPress or like the errors returned from the API, and returns the error instead. And if it doesn't, it decodes the message that you get and then spits the message out. So now, like, anywhere on my WordPress site, if I wanted to get something from GPT, I could generate a prompt, pass it to the API, and I get the first message back. So this is like cool. This is like the beginning. Like, this is the tool that you can use. What I want to do here is I want to make an interactive form so that people come to this page. We should gather some information about their membership site. Let's like tack it onto the prompt and then send that with the prompt to get the responses, right? So I'm going to build a form. I don't need Gravity Forms or Ninja Forms or any of the other Forms plugins. WS Forms, shout out. Shout out to all the other form plugins that I didn't, I love you guys and didn't talk about. You can just build a form by yourself. Let's do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it around here. So I'm going to, let's just do this form. And actually, CoPilot should be really good at this. It's not giving me a form with an input button that says submit, right? So ask name GPT. That's a decent name for this, I guess, right? So maybe I'll just call it submit. That's kind of what people expect. And maybe in my form, yeah, no, I don't want that. Let's do a label though. And let me think, what do we want to pass? Like what? Oh, it's kind of like, maybe it's like how many, like, I'm going to prefix all my stuff with name wizard. So I think like how many levels you have is kind of important. And then not suggesting like an input type number, which is cool. You could actually like wrap it in the label. Does it do that? Sweet. I think 3 is a decent default. Okay, let's see what CoPilot did. You gave me, how many levels do you want to name? Or how many, it's not exactly, how many levels are on your site? And so there's a number input, yeah. So, which, I mean, I actually hate the way number inputs work on phones, like the little scroll wheel thing, but I mean, that's a good input type for this. It'll be text on my screen, I think. We're gonna call the name and the ID name wizard number levels and default to 3. Okay, cool. What else do we want to ask them? Actually, I haven't thought this through, so this is good. Let's see. We want to. Okay, so how many sites you have? What is your membership site about? All right, what is your membership site about? And then let's. I don't know where the cookie suggestion came from, but Okay. I clicked the hide sharing thing and it got confused. Here's where like, oh, oh, there we go. I was like, Copilot had a good suggestion. What happened? Input type text. I actually think text is actually good because tokens cost money, like number of words. I'm thinking of a text area for this, but people might write a book, and I don't want to like limit, like build a thing that, although maybe Copilot will help me build like a character limit for the input or something like that. But if it's just visually a text field, it's going to, it's going to show that there. So, all right. How many levels do you have and what's it about? That's probably good enough. And then we're going to submit it and then it's form. And then, okay. So here, let's do something like, okay. So, I'm actually gonna, I don't know why my brain kind of works this way. So this was our old code that did the prompt. What we want to code here is when you first come to the website, it's a form, and only when you submit the form do you get a prompt. And actually what we should do here is kind of like, we can go, PHP, oh, look, yeah, we want to add a nonce field. Oops, we don't want it to be commented out. Okay, it's cool. Copilot knew what I wanted to do here. There's a thing called nonce, stands for like number once, something like that. And it's like a security tactic so that when we're building a form, someone from some other website could hit our form directly and like use it to kind of build their own chat GPT API that doesn't go to OpenAPI. It just like uses our form instead. We want to make sure that only people who are like clicking the button on my website are like able to use the form. So that's what you do is you create a nonce field on the front end, and there's a handy WordPress function for that. And you give it a name, and those names are pretty good. And then actually, let's look this up for you guys. For you. Okay. It's an hour and a half now. I thought this would be like a half-hour video. All right. Nonce field. The action and the name. So like, yeah, there's a name. You could have different kinds of actions and things like that. This is kind of how I do it. You like the field is, the action is name wizard GPT. That's what I'm going to check on the back end. And the name is like the name of the field is going to be name wizard GPT nonce. So that's important to include. Is there anything else we want to include in this? I don't know, but okay. Now we're going to update and we're going to say like, yeah, like if the form was submitted, right, as nonce. Okay, cool. Let's see what it does here. Check the nonce. We want to do that. Oh, okay, cool. So if is set, post the nonce and WP verify nonce. Yeah, cool. So let's say, hey, if there's a nonce, it's kind of doing two things at once. Like a good way to check if the form is submitted is if you see the nonce field, and then if the nonce verifies, it's gonna generate. Otherwise, so actually, I mean, I generally would code this a little differently. I would like check for the form submission separately and then check the nonce separately and stuff like that. But this works. I guess what happens is if you hit this from outside, it's just going to return the form. Okay, so if that's all good, get the number of levels. Yep. So we're sanitizing it using like the apps int, and we're sanitizing the text that they write using sanitized text field. That's really good. And then it builds the prompt, which I think it's interesting. Like this was, is that the same prompt I had before? Yeah. But what I want to do is kind of add their info to the prompt and then ask GPT, so output, and then echo the output. So actually, I mean, it copied this code, right? Okay, cool. So if the form submitted, it's going to build the prompt. What we want to do here yet is we want to add the number of levels and the membership type. So let me reread this prompt to see what makes sense. You name GPT. Wait, is it? You are. I mean, maybe the marketing genius. Give me some good names for my membership site levels. They should be short and sweet. Here's some example. Actually, maybe I won't give the examples. I feel like it knows. I have, we can insert here, like, what did we call it? Number levels. Oh, you know what's funny? It's like if you have one. So let's, there's a way to do this. Kind of like, we'll just do it this way. Num levels. There's a way you can use a WordPress function to, like, if it's less than, if it's one, just say level. If it's 0 or more, say more. My site is about site type. Oh, that's rich code site type. Hold on. Is that what I didn't double check these names. So levels, site type. What is your membership type about? I mean, that's okay. All right. It's called type. Cool. All right. Well, my site is about site type. I want to see what you can come up with. Go. Okay. And then it asks. I do it this way. It's kind of like, you can like put curly braces. I tend to doing this. Oh, I know why I was confused, because there's like a period. Like my site is about site type. I'm gonna see what we can come up with. Okay, and GPT is really forgiven if this turns out kind of weird. So the prompt, I'm going to combine those things into the prompt. All right, cool. That's good enough. And it's going to output, and then it's going to echo it. And then what I want to do, we're kind of close here. What I want to do is like only show the form if it was submitted, not show the form. So let me figure out how to do that. Yeah, this is where it's kind of like, if yeah, hold on here. Submit is called, you can put a name on this. Name equals third. And then we can check for that. So actually, I'm going to recode this like I said I usually do. There's a reason why we do it that way. So it's like if not empty, best name wizard submit. Do some stuff. Yeah, maybe we can like, there's like where, like if I, like CoPilot's getting a little annoying. And actually you can turn it off. Like if you're like, hey, I don't need CoPilot for a while. You can turn it off down there. All right. If the form is submitted, we go in here. And then we're going to say like else. Form wasn't submitted. We're going to do all this. All right. My tabbing is a little weird. I feel like I may be getting it wrong. Okay. And so we're going to check the nonce. This is going to be different. So it's going to like, actually, what I'll probably do is like I'll say throw an error if the nonce is invalid, and then it should give me like a pretty good suggestion of that code. Oh, I turned off. Is it on? What am I going to do if I don't have CoPilot? Does that give me good? No. All right, whatever. So if not is set post name wizard GPT nonce. I don't know what I did with CoPilot. I kind of broke it. Or, oh, here it is. Or not WP verify. Sorry, the nonce was incorrect. There you go. Okay, cool. I'm gonna read this really quick. Hey, if I don't have that nonce field, or if it can't verify it, let's give an error about the nonce being bad. Okay, so like if someone's trying to game my field. Now what this allows me to do is kind of like, and especially because I have my editor like blown up for the video, I get rid of a level of invention here, which is nice. Oh, it's yelling at me. Am I missing parentheses? Yeah. But if the request, if it was submitted, I'm going to check the nonce. Nonce is good. Get the number of levels, get the field. I thought about adding in here, like making sure they fill out the field, but actually I don't care. If they don't fill out the field, it's going to give them random names. That's kind of cool. And then it gets the output, and then that goes to output. If it doesn't, and then something else I wanted to do maybe was like, oh, something else I wanted to do here was, have like a link to try to start again, right? So I'm gonna like, oh my goodness, want to try and click here. Yeah, that's gonna work. That's kind of cool. Okay. It's gonna reload the page, but not like submit the form. Yep. Okay. Cool. Actually, and the other thing I want to do is up top, I want to say something like, I want to say something like, like, oh, we're going, okay, you know, please wait, because it may take a second. Actually, it probably won't show this, but that'd be interesting if we ever like Ajaxify this or something. We not do that. What's kind of cool is like, I said like GPT might take a while, but it's because slow. Dude, sometimes we built tools for people that would like do calculations to kind of like figure out their personality type, or like I'm searching the database for something, but the database is really quick, but you want people to feel like something is happening. And so many times on customer sites, we would put like fake loaders. So I think this is a case where like, like we might want a fake loader in there to make it seem like more is actually happening than is really happening there. And you could even get really cute about it. Like it could have like a bunch of responses, like, computing this, computing that. Okay. Giving you your answer. Okay, cool. This works. Let me see what this page looks like now. Cool. All right. This is pretty good. The styling on my fields is kind of shit. And I realized that as I was typing that out. But we can fix that up really quick. Sorry for the language there. Relate how many levels on your site. We can just put a break in here. Actually probably Kim and others who like do fields and stuff are probably, and this is maybe why like user form plugin probably like, what are you doing? You should we could put these in paragraphs in a styling. That's not a bad idea. Copilots. I just want a p tag, dude. Okay, that's weird. All right, it kind of wasn't letting me arrow around. I don't know if, I mean, this is definitely going to make it look okay. I don't know if this is the best semantic. Talk to your, there'll be the first pull request when this gets up on GitHub. Let's make my field like a better semantics. All right, we're going to ask the great name GPT to help you come up with names for your membership levels. How many levels are on your site? 3, what's your membership site about? I could actually, oh, here's another like little funny thing. These values don't have to be values. They could be, what is it called? It's called a, starts with a P. What's it called? P. Where's the chat? No one's left in chat. There's people watching. W3 schools. Not autocomplete. The, well, why's my brain? This is like true autocomplete. There's like a, no. am I saying autocomplete? Input field suggested. Prompt? Placeholder is what I really want. Okay, sorry. Let's make the values blank because it's kind of annoying. And let's use a placeholder equals 3 and placeholder equals, for example, fitness. Okay. And actually, another thing I'm just thinking of is I want to, up here, kind of remind people what they said. So it's kind of this down here too. Hold on, so like I get the variables in here, say passing off. What I want to do is remind them like what they said for some reason. I think it would be nice. That's not for GPT. Your site is about people put a pair there, that might look weird. Please wait. So yeah, I wanted to remind them what they wrote here. There's a little bit more security thing. Like even though I already escaped it here and we didn't do anything with the number levels or the site type, whenever you echo, use like an escape function. In fact, it turns it into an integer. Actually, what's weird is like, yeah, there's echoing an integer is going to convert it into a string then again, but that's going to make sure that it's a number and not like something, it's going to hurt. And escape HTML here is going to make sure your site type doesn't have anything in it. The reason to do this is if in the future something happens between these lines and the coder who's doing that update wasn't paying attention, they could like introduce something that could potentially cause a security issue later. So it's kind of be safe as like sanitized as early as possible, escape as late as possible, and it's okay to be redundant about it. This prompt gets sent to the GPT API, so we don't necessarily have to do that. It's a decent idea to escape something you're about to send to GPT, but I guess we'll let them worry about that. It's not, it feels safe to me. Cool. All right, refresh this. How many levels do you have? 3. And what is your membership site about? Membership site is about membership plugins for WordPress, or no, it would be like a fun one. Or like, how about my membership site is about like WordPress coding tutorials. Okay, submit. Boom. All right, something happened. Oh, maybe I called this num levels, but it's really called number levels. Oh, wait, number levels. Okay, interesting. And yeah, but it still gave me some suggestions. Sprout, the starter level, seedling, the intermediate level, sapling, master, coder, prodigy. I mean, those are pretty neat, decent. That sound like levels that of progression, but not necessarily like levels, that people pay for. Give me some good news from my membership site levels. But I mean, I don't actually, I mean, this is kind of good enough where we're at. I'm I would like tweak this and like try to get it. I'm thinking like what thing you'd be like, hey, these are the levels people are going to purchase. So like they should be catchy and like get people to want to buy or something like that. You could get more specific. Let's click here to try again. And then how many levels? 3. One thing that's weird is because this is a placeholder. Actually, I might get rid of the placeholders. And I actually like how small this is. Another thing we probably want to do is maybe like this prompt or the site type at least. Make sure it doesn't go over a certain number of characters because then it would mess things up, But like, what's another site we want to do? My site is about learning how to use AI to program or something like that too. Submit. Boom. All right, you mentioned having 3 levels and that your site is about learning how to use AI to build software. Please wait. AI initiate and enthusiast, AI master. All right, we're getting levels. Oh, okay, here's this is next step. I'm going to do this offline. What I really want to do is take the content of our post here that has our advice on picking levels and get GPT to summarize that into advice and then apply that advice. So this feels like it would be really it's too much. Let me see here. I think that's a I'm going to do it. Okay, hold on. I was like, maybe I'll do this later. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. Okay, this is just intro text. Doesn't matter. The table of contents. Okay, I think here is the content. Evaluating. And then I have links. Oh, here we go. Let me see. So I'm actually, okay, let me see how much content I can send. So if I go to ChatGPT, I'm going to use that. Can you summarize this content into a prompt that I can send to the DaVinci? It was like Text DaVinci 3. I have a model to recommend level names. And I'm probably going to hit some kind of token limit. Actually, I'm going to start this in a window. Don't lose it. And I think what I'll have to do is maybe summarize this in a couple of steps. If you have access to GPT-4, apparently it has a much bigger token base. This blog post is definitely too long. But let's just try it and see what we get. It worked. I really thought it was going to go over the limit. Okay, so let's see what it did. It was like, hey, can you summarize this into a prompt? Generate membership level names for different types of membership sites, including tier, price, blah, blah, blah. That was a little too summary. That's a little too small. Can you include some of the advice that the content gives? A prompt. Boom. It's a little longer. We wrote this whole 2,000 word blog post, and ChatGPT is like, yeah, dude, I can summarize it. Consider clarity, creativity, and how to level names read within the system phrases. I could human summarize this to get it better. Let me think. Let me just scan this and make sure we're a lot of it is examples. Oh, you know what? It's also kind of like this post goes into the different kinds of levels. So this could be another option on the forum is like, hey, what kind of level is it? Is it like a, delivery subscription tiered levels? And this is mostly suggestions. So maybe it doesn't really need them. It kind of like ChatGPT can come up with his own. I don't think it's going to replace our post here, but it might be a cool little thing to embed on it. Oh, here. So this is a bite that I think chat is missing. A great approach to leveling is to pull ideas from the goals of your organization, your location, and group requires to represent. So actually, this might be a good field and say what are the goals of your organization? What is your location or the group? I might make this a field on the form. All right, let's make this a field on the form. Let's do this. I don't know why I'm making this so good. We'll just keep going. Another input we want. All right. Table 4. Oh, look, we didn't have the 4 here. Actually, when you wrap the label around the input, you don't really need the 4, but it's good to And it should be the ID, not the name, but they're both the same here. Okay, so name wizard goal. ID equals name wizard. Wait, oh, never mind. Hold on, I'm doing this wrong. Yeah, look, I mean, CoPilot's smarter than me. Oh, it's building a select, but I think I want another text input. Actually, this happened a couple times where like the editor's getting confused about my inventing. Maybe because I do this. Maybe it's like, hey, dude, you shouldn't put labels like that. Anyway. I want an input here. It equals text. Placeholder. And actually here we want to say like that text great approach. Approach from the goals of organization location group cause like what are all it's like tell us about your organization, right? So it's like cool. I guess it's like what is it about? What are your goals? Slightly different. Okay, but now I need the list of requests. You mentioned having so many levels, and then your site is about X. You mentioned the following about your goals. HTML. Have to get the goals, right? So if we just say goals equals, Pilot's got my back. All right, cool. So now we have a new field called goals. I don't know if that was really required. Feels good. Yeah. And I want to sell more memberships. Feels like a very capitalistic goal, but it's like, oh, and actually, yeah, I want to. Did we get rid of the placeholders because they were distracting? No. Okay. I don't know. What is it like? Learn about X. Okay, cool. Oh, and then we want to pass it to the prompt, and we want to change the prompt. Okay, so ChatGPT gave us like a new prompt suggestion. Let's try it. Okay, cool. So it's like your name, choose your marketing genius. Recommend loan names for different types of membership sites based on the content vertical, blah, 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 blah. Wait, consider clarity, blah, blah, blah. Example level names, ideas provided for each membership type structure. That's kind of weird, actually. But I'm going to leave it because that's what ChatGPT said we should send. Let's see. Oh, I have this number. My site is about X. Our goals are goals. Oh, maybe we should put this first. We're getting very specific. Your name, GP marketing, recommend level names for different types of memory. Maybe like we shouldn't do the marketing genius thing. It's going to get too salesy. Different types of measure based on content vertical, blah, blah, blah. Consider clarity, creative. I'm going to get my, maybe I'll keep the goal thing. Oh, okay. All right, let's see if this prompt works or gets too big. All right. You know what's weird is this placeholder looks like there's really a 3 there, but there's not. I don't know, but it's okay. All right. What's your site about? Programming. And what is my goal? Helping folks learn, build, press. I'll wrap it up soon. We're getting to the 2-hour mark. This is what I wanted, one of these 2-hour epic YouTube videos. Here we go. All right, passing on for request name GPT. You mentioned all these things. Please wait. Tiered hierarchical levels. It's funny. Like, oh, this is weird. Like, I mean, our prompt didn't necessarily. I mean, it included the idea of this, but it's kind of giving us an output that's similar to the post that we gave. But anyway, tiered hierarchical, foundational, essentials, single payment. This is cool. It might be generic though. It's kind of like what we came up with, beginner, intermediate, advanced, but maybe because I'm talking about programming and it's not getting too clever. I think we could tweak the prompt, but this is kind of good, right? Content delivery subscription type levels. Oh, it looks like it like, oh, I said 100 tokens limit and it looks like it just cuts off. So maybe we need more tokens. And I can check how much this says. Maybe I can check how much this is using. Are you guys using my key that I shared? Usage. All right, I've used 1 penny. We're not doing too bad. Cool. Click here, tries again. All right, I'm gonna bundle up this code, put it up on GitHub. The link to the repository is going to be in the description of the YouTube video that we share. Let me double check my notes here to make sure I'm getting through. Yeah, we built an interactive forum and we've been using VS Code with CoPilot the whole time. We got a little confused about the HTTP requests and the details of the OpenAI API, but we got through it. I feel like this one's really important because if you guys are gonna like push out these models on the internet, and then you're gonna come yelling at me about your credit card bill, what you'll probably want to do is restrict this form. One thing you could do is use Paid Memberships Pro and make it just for your paying members and kind of trust them not to overuse it. And so, hey, like you could put hey, you can't use my GPT tool unless you pay me. Put that shortcode on a page that's restricted by membership level and only members can get in. Or even if you're not charging, you could put it on a page that's restricted by level. So people have to sign up on your website, give you their email address, things like that. So that's pretty cool use to gain access to it. And I do think it would be cool to have like, just a thing that's like you would set a variable like you can only use this 10 times per hour. And then if you go over the limit, it feels like the kind of thing that CoPilot could code pretty quickly. But maybe that's the next video. But yeah, if you hit it, more than 10 times per hour, it's going to tell you to slow down, which is what a lot of these GPT tools that are out online have included. So it's an obvious next step. I hope that was educational for you all. I hope you can take this code and build some cool things with it. Please hit me back and tell me what you're building. And this did take me 2 hours, but you can now just copy my code and maybe watch this video while you're eating dinner over a couple sessions and, understand how all this works together. I appreciate you for watching and catch you next time.